seminars like Landmark, and had done quite a few, actually, Landmark, gone pretty much through the whole Landmark program, and found that I would walk away with it, and then it would kind of fade, everything that I had worked on over the course of a weekend, or even like the seminars that go over the course of like 10 weeks. You know, you go like once a week, and then you go back to your life and it all fades. My way of coming into coaching was actually a Landmark coach, was trying to talk me into being sort of on the path of coaching myself, in the sense of, well, now you've kind of attended all of these various seminars, why don't you now step into the role of like facilitating these seminars as a way to bring it into your life on a more consistent basis. I just felt like the time commitment was not possible for me because I didn't really live near a center, and even if I did live near a center, just the time commitment wasn't possible for me. And so this woman, this Landmark, you know, sort of coachy, facilitator type person said, well, have you ever considered coaching, like getting your own personal coach? And I really never had, and I was like, oh, no, I have never thought of that, but it seems like that could be something I could look into. And that's kind of how I got into it. Specifically, or the thing that's cool about for me, personalized coaching, the thing that was cool about it is like when you do a seminar or you're in a like large group kind of listening, you know, you're working with people and you're listening, but you know, there's like 200 people in the room and everyone's got their own situation or issue that they want to work on, or whatever, set of issues even. And the thing that I really liked about personalized coaching is being able to come into it with like a very specific goal or issue that I wanted to work on, and being able to really get very direct and personalized feedback on my exact issue, instead of like real general sort of tools that I may or may not be able to apply to my specific issue. And also having someone, like you say, double click, having someone double click when I say something that like triggers maybe deeper digging into solving my problem or my issue. I liked personalized coaching in that sense, that if you're sitting in a big room at a seminar and something goes through your mind, there's not necessarily somebody there to go, whoa, wait, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? And so I really like that about personalized coaching, and I liked being able to have a very specific issue that I worked on. But the thing that was really interesting about the whole experience is that came in with like a very specific goal or issue that I wanted to work on, and it kind of became like holographic because it sort of exploded into all sorts of other avenues to go down, all very personal to me. So it's kind of what I liked about having it be personalized. The first session that I had, if I look back on it, I feel like I was like my mind was sort of like racing all different directions. And I also remember at the time I was actually walking in the forest and I was on the phone, and I kind of felt like wild, like I was like, I could not really in control necessarily of my own thoughts, kind of like an emotional stripogram, I think, for John. Just listen to all this like fireworks of crazy explosive thoughts. And then I feel like by the end, I was able to have like really focused, calm conversations. But in the beginning, I really felt like I was just, you know, like a wild animal running through the forest, like chasing after my thoughts, really. I feel a lot more calm having gone through the whole experience than I came into it, for sure. I think the most important thing that I got out of it is, I don't think that I necessarily changed per se, but I think that I developed like a trust in my own instincts, and I'm like allowing myself not to be so judgy towards myself in terms of my opinions on situations or how I express myself. I think that I am naturally kind of hard on myself. but I really felt like in talking to John, I gave myself, I don't know, permission to trust myself more or forgive myself more for making, not even for making mistakes, for just not, like, basically that it's okay to not have it all figured out. And I think that was the most valuable thing, because it left me with the feeling like, even at the end of, 10 weeks, if I need to take a break from having a coach in my life, for example, that I know that I have the ability to tap back in to what I gained by talking to John. I just have to, do it. I know that I have that before, whereas I felt like in the past kind of with, well, I'll just say it, Landmark, and I love Landmark, but in the past with Landmark, I always felt like I would go to some, through some program or some seminar, feel like totally awesome and empowered, leave. Everything was sort of like go back to, the old way of being, or like the status quo. I would kind of like lose my grip on all the skills that I had learned. And then I would feel like I had to go back in order to tap into it, where I don't feel like that with John. I feel like I got a real, like, basic trust in myself that I actually do know what I need to do. It's just that sometimes you need someone to, like, remind you or help you find that when your mind is, like, scattered and you're having a hard time focusing. I would say show up on time, bring a notebook, be on a landline or some kind of, like, stable phone situation. Because I had the experience that I would be on my cell phone and it would drop the call, and that's kind of disruptive to the whole thing. And then it took me a few sessions to, like, really show up and be present. So in the beginning, I think I was really coming in scattered and didn't really have both feet in the conversation. It was kind of like one foot out the door. I think that can actually waste time. Like, if you don't just show up and be completely present and ready to roll, then, you're sort of, like, wasting valuable time that you could be having, a really meaningful conversation. And the other thing is just not to really, other than just being present to whatever, it's kind of like not really having any expectations of how it's going to go, because it's kind of like if you're on I don't know if, like if you're on a train and you are just kind of cruising and checking out the scenery and you don't really know where it's going, it's kind of fun in that sense, if you can just go in with that perspective that, like, you don't really know where the conversation's going to go, and be open to it really going anywhere. But as long as you're, like, present, then, it's fun. It's actually really fun. And the time just, like, but before you know it, it's, like, over, and you're like, oh, shoot, I have to get off the train now? That was a really fun train ride. So that's what I would say. I think that it's like an art. I think it's kind of like a calling or an art, or it's like it's a gift, really, I think, to be able to call someone out on their shit, hold people accountable and make them responsible for their crap in a loving, sort of like non-judgmental way. I think it's not something that a lot of people have the ability to do, and definitely John has the ability to hold you accountable when you're not really being authentic, or when you're, like, not really in integrity, or whatever it is, when you're not really, like, your true self, or you're not really, like, honoring your true self. John has the ability to kind of, like, cut through that crap without making you feel bad or like you're being judged or you're wrong. That is a special, really, it's a gift. In a lot of other seminars, part of the coaching or the technique is to hold people accountable and not let people get away with, not being their true selves or their best selves or whatever. But it often comes across in a way that is hard for people to digest. It makes you, like, it doesn't make you, but I think often people can be really defensive, and then you kind of are wasting time because you're not really getting the message because your defenses are up. And so that's one thing. I think I know that people are hesitant to do coaching because they're afraid of being called out on their crap. They're afraid of what that's going to feel like, or, they're afraid of being like judged or told that they're wrong or they're bad or whatever. They're afraid to like face that. And the thing about John is that he'll do it. He'll call you out on it in a way, and you need it in a way that you need. But it's also in a way that doesn't make you leave feeling like you're less than. For me, that's a real difference between John and like seminars and things that I've done in the past. One thing that also was pretty cool that I've never really experienced is that John kind of has this like almost like channeling. In a way, it's kind of hard to describe, but it's kind of like listening to you and sort of channeling at the same time, like some sort of like higher purpose for you. It's definitely going off-piste in terms of coaching because it's not, like you never feel like there's a formula or a workbook that's being followed or like a set of questions you're supposed to answer or like exercises. It's a little bit more freestyle than that, which I thought was really cool. I have had, the experience of like a technology, quote unquote, that people have worked on developing, and then that technology, quote unquote, gets rolled out to a group of people, and you're sort of going through exercises that have been practiced and whatever. And there might be a technology in the background for John, but you really don't feel it. You really feel like it's just a conversation. And like I said, it feels like he's really listening at a deep level. It's not like he's looking at a program guide, so to speak, while you're talking.